In this video, I'm going to be looking at your sweet and favorite topic, fertilization. Okay. In this video, I'm diving into an amazing journey, the step-by-step process of fertilization from day 1 to 5. I will make this as simple as possible, ensuring every detail is crystal clear. So let's get started. But before then, here are things which you need to know, which is first the location of fertilization. So notice that the fertilization and implantation occur in the reproductive tract. And here come out of the site we have a ligament which are called the ovaries. Ovaries are what we call the female gonad. So on day 1 of fertilization, what really happened? The fertilization begins in the ampulla of the fallopian tube. The first thing that happens is when the sperm meet the egg. Where do we get the egg? The egg is for female and the sperm is for the males. Here we have the female reproductive tract, and at this point, here we have what we call the vagina, and here we have the cervix, and here we have the uterus, and here we have the ovary. So first thing that happens is this: after a million of sperm restrict the female reproductive tract, only one lucky sperm penetrates the outer layer of the egg. So notice that the egg normally comes out of this ovary. Let's say here we have the egg. Notice that this egg is called the oocyte. It's protected by a thick protective membrane called the zona pellucida. And surrounding the zona pellucida are cells called the corona radiata. To make it ridiculously easy, feel free to grab a pen and write this, which is OMC. Notice that this is the name of the egg, which is the oocyte. And here we said it's protected by a thick membrane. And here we have our membrane. Outside of the membrane, we have cells, and this is the cells. So another important stuff which you need to put at the back of your mind is this. The oocyte, notice that the oocyte is the egg. So we are done with this part. What about the membrane? The membrane is called the zona pellucida. What about the cell? The cell is called the corona radiata. So this is how it happens. We said outside of this cell, we have outside of the egg, or the oocyte rather, we have this thick membrane protecting it, which we call the zona pellucida. And outside of the zona pellucida, we have some set of cells called the corona radiata. So we can feel free to label it. And here we have our oocyte. Here we have our zona pellucida. And at this point, we have the corona, not coronavirus, corona radiata is the name of cell, corona radiata. Now that you have seen the structure, but what is really important at this point is this: the ovary provides us with an egg, which is the oocyte. So what really happened? What will happen to this oocyte? So notice that if the male sperm does not penetrate and fertilize this oocyte, then period will simply occur. But when a male sperm swims along the uterine tube, and then once the sperm meets and penetrates the oocyte, then this is what we call the fertilization. Notice that the zona pellucida, what it does, it simply makes the outer shell to be very hard to prevent other sperm from entering. So to ensure just one single sperm will fertilize at a time. So this is what happened for day 1. But before we dive into day 2, there is just one step that we need to understand, which is the fission of nuclei. When we said nuclei, I think basically we're talking about the DNA material. Because if you notice, on the other side, this is the penetration of sperm cells, and this is the egg. The egg is already inside there, after evolution, waiting for, waiting for the male sperm to come in. So, but here we're going to have an egg and sperm. Here we're going to have the intricate dance. Both of these egg and dance, they have what you call the DNA. Dinucleonucleic acid, is it right? They both have the DNA. So the genetic material from the sperm and the egg combine, forming a single cell, which we call the zygote. So don't forget, this zygote simply contains all the DNA needed to develop into a human. So this is what really happened in day 1. We are done with day 1. Now we are moving into day 2. So on day 2, what really happened is early cell division, which we call the cleavage. Notice that on day 2, the zygote begins to divide through a process which we call the cleavage. And this is how the process takes place. It divides into 3. We have the first division, and we have the subsequent division, and the last one we have is the blastomia. So this is the first, this is the second, and this is the third one. On the first division, the zygote will simply divide into 2 cells. Then on the second division, which is the subsequent division, the 2 cells will divide into 4. Then into 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then into 16, and so on. So everything here is called the blastomia, or each cell here will be called blastomia, which is the third one. So now we can simply move into day 3. We are done with day 2. Notice that on day 3, the dividing cell forms a solid ball of cells which we call the morula. The cell compacts together tightly and slowly moving toward the uterus. This is the only thing that happens in day 3. We are done with day 3. We can now simply move to day 4. On day 4, the morula develop into blastocyst. On day 4, we have morula. So here we have the morula will simply develop into what we call the blastocyst. Let's write the name. Blastocyst. But notice that for it to become the blastocyst, we are going to have a small cavity which will begin to form within the morula, turning it into hollow structure. Let's just put it this way. And notice that we're going to have 2 layers, which is the inner and outer layer. The blastocyst has key part, and notice that the inner cell mass which become the baby, and the trophoblast, this will simply form the placenta. So we're going to have the inner cell mass, this will become the baby, and let's say this is the trophoblast, this will form the placenta. So this is what really happened in day 4. And we can simply tick it down. We are done with it. We are left with day 5. By day 5, notice that what really happened is this. The blastocyst will simply hatches out of the zona pellucida. Because from day 1, we said zona pellucida is one that protected. But by day 5, it will simply just cut it up and hatch out. The reason why this simply hatch out is just to allow the blastocyst to grow and prepare for implantation in the uterus. So here we have the final one. Oh, sorry, we're still on day 5, which is ready for implantation at this point. So at this point, the blastocyst will simply come here all the way and attach to the uterine wall, waiting for the next phase. So this concludes the first 5 days of fertilization from one cell to the blastocyst ready for implantation in details. If you really find this video helpful, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. Thank you and see you next time. In this video, I'm going to be looking at your sweet and favorite topic.